It was the expected result at Cameron Indoor Stadium on Saturday night, but that doesn't mean it's any less disappointing.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Saturday, March 7th, 2026. Welcome into this live postcast edition of the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Network, now the #1 sports podcast network out there. Thanks so much, as always, for making us your first listen or watch. Special shout out to our everydayers, all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, and our insiders as well. This episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Have your cake and drink it too. Birthday cake flavor is back. No fork needed. Vanilla cakey flavor, caffeinated kick, and no sugar party time. Although for us right now, it's therapy session. Order now at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. Hey, in the midst of what's going to be mostly sad and disappointing live postcast, I do want to wish a very happy 7th birthday to my dear, sweet daughter, Poppy. It's her birthday technically tomorrow, Sunday. But, we won't have a Sunday show, man. And so that's just, even on a sad night like this, it's a healthy reminder for me of the things that are most important in life. Poppy and Shade, I love you to the moon and back. All right, North Carolina falls at Duke 76-61 to wrap the regular season. The Heels covered the spread. Yay. I don't know, whatever. Final regular season record, Carolina falls to 24-7, 12-6 overall. This was the 16th game in this regular season that Carolina was missing at least one of the big three, which is crazy. Big three being Caleb Wilson, Henry Vasar, and Seth Trimble. Over half the games. So just to put it all into perspective, that's what this season has been. I would say Carolina has persevered well. KenPom, how's this for weird, and why you just remember that all the predictive metric sites are wacky and it's hard to know. Carolina came into this game 31st at KenPom. They lose by 15 and jump 3 spots to 28th at KenPom. You figure it out and talk to me about it later. This is definitely a therapy session. As I said, yeah, it's probably the expected outcome in this game, but that doesn't mean it's any less disappointing. You never want to lose. You never want to lose to Duke, where Carolina had won at Cameron 3 of the last 5. Can't get it done. And that's where we are. So if you're new to this, if you're new to our live postcast, what we'll do, we'll get into a bunch of stuff, big picture things, nitty gritty things. We'll take your comments over in the chat section, and then we'll get on with our Saturday night. Let me remind you, oh, by the way, don't forget to turn your clock forward tonight, unless you live in one of those, like Indiana and Arizona or parts of those states where they don't do it. I don't know, whatever. All right. So if you're a Hoosier or whatever the Arizona state nickname is, you don't do it, but the rest of us will. There you go. All right, I want to go to a moment in the second half. Carolina had a great end to the first half. They cut it after Duke led by 5 at halftime, 39-34. Carolina cuts it to a 1-point lead at 41-40. Isaiah Evans misses a shot. Then he commits his 3rd foul on Jaron Stevenson. So Isaiah Evans has 3 fouls. Carolina has the ball down 1 with a chance to take a lead. And you're thinking, holy cow, is this actually going to happen right now? Is Carolina going to make a run? Is there a world in which they go win this game? Might I tell you what happened then? The ensuing Carolina possession, Luka takes an ill-advised step back early shot clock 3. And at that moment, I wrote in my notes, the margins, particularly without Caleb Wilson, are so thin that you have to value every single possession like your life depended on it. And I get it. You feel like you got momentum on your side, but you cannot take that shot right there. You have to fight for a better shot in that moment. That's not the shot you want. Whether it's Seth attacking, drawing some defense and kicking out, Seth getting into the lane, whether it's getting Henry or Jared, whatever it is. And sure, if the shot clock runs, and that's the thing. Luka can get that shot at any point in the shot clock. And that's the issue with it. And so I wrote also in my notes, will there be another opportunity for Carolina to take a lead? And the answer to that was a resounding no. Here's why. From that moment that Carolina was down by 1 point, 41-40, Duke goes on a, you ready for this? 30-6 run to lead at 71-46. That was the biggest margin of, what is that, 25, 55, or 56, 46? Yeah, 25-point lead. Carolina cut it back down to 15, so shaved 10 off of that to, again, cover the spread that started at 15.5 and grew. So congrats if you took the heels to cover, I guess, right? But that feels like a dumb moral victory that I don't care about. It's just, again, it's a reminder for both this game and now going into the postseason that you can't just frivolously waste possessions on either end of the floor, but particularly offensively. The offense has taken steps down in a major way without Caleb's athleticism. And so you have to value every single one of them. And particularly in a game where Duke had, I think it was 1,492 more possessions than the Tar Heels did. We'll talk about why in a second. But another issue is that as this thing wore on, Duke's defense became more and more suffocating. Between Malik Brown and between Dame Sarr, I mean, they were just props to those dudes, man. They were everywhere. Sure. Was it a bit handsy and maybe some more fouls called? Yeah, but you're not going to get those on the road. You can't expect it. Those dudes were the difference makers. And Carolina, I thought, gave into that. They accepted it. Carolina ended up just completely getting out of their offensive rhythms and sets, started settling for, like, when you get down, instead of just trying to run good stuff and working your way back into a game, Carolina started hero balling. Carolina started one-on-oneing. And that's just playing right into Duke's hands, or any opponent, quite frankly. That's what you can't do. You have to be more disciplined than that. You have to be more mature as an individual basketball player and as a team. If you see a teammate doing that, you got to call them out and say, bro, that we can't do that. That's going to make this margin even bigger. And because of the suffocating nature of Duke's defense, I thought that in particular was where Carolina you miss Caleb Wilson all over the place, but that in particular. Remember in the first game, the meeting in Chapel Hill, where Caleb just made tough shot after tough shot because of his elite athleticism and size and length. So I thought that was where things really shone through, that Caleb was sitting on the bench with a cast on his left thumb. And that's the thing. Now, all of that, so, I referenced Duke's, I think 1,000 something more possessions. Here's why. Two critical things really, really killed any ability Carolina might have had to win this game. And when they got it down to 1 point, like, it's not some far-fetched reality that Carolina could have won it, right? Like, I doubted it in my mind, but when you saw it happening on the floor, you're like, this is a possibility. And I hope that side of it is an encouragement to Carolina that, like, hey, even with Caleb sitting on the bench, we were within one of Duke in the second half at Cameron. And I know no moral victories, and I know whatever. And it's like, Carolina shouldn't feel that way against Duke. Yeah, right. I hear all of that. But given the scenario, you're down 1 to Duke after all the struggles, and there you are. So those two big issues are these: turnovers and Duke offensive rebounds. Those two things killed Carolina, and not just those two things themselves, but the points that Duke got off of both of those. Second chance points off of the offensive rebounds and points off of turnovers. So here you go. Carolina committed 14 turnovers, which ties the season high with the Wake Forest game. And it's not just that Carolina turned it over. It wasn't like some travels or throwing it out of bounds. 11 of those 14 turnovers were Duke steals, which a lot of then led to live ball run out ball turnovers. I haven't even looked at the fast break points. Yeah. Carolina led 13-5 in fast breaks. Interesting. So Duke gets 11 steals, causes 14 total turnovers for the Tar Heels. And then offensive rebounds surrendered. Carolina gave up 18 offensive rebounds, 2 off the season high, which oddly enough was ECU. ECU had 20 offensive rebounds against Carolina. That's crazy. But when you look at the points off of those two statistical areas, I guffawed at how crazy it is. Points off turnovers. You ready for this? Duke led 24-4. Again, this is a game that Duke won by 15. They were plus 20 in points off turnovers. That alone is the difference in the game. And I believe in round one, the game at Carolina, I think the Heels turned it over just 7 times. Am I remembering? Yeah, just 7 times. So literally doubled that tonight. There you go. So maybe if Carolina turns it over 7 times, instead of a minus 20 in points off turnovers, it's minus 10. And that doesn't win you the game, but that's down 5 instead of down 15. And that's a big difference. And then you can make more of it up because Duke second chance points led 14-4. So combined between points off turnovers and second chance points, Duke was plus 30. You're never going to win that basketball game. I don't care if it's Duke or Hogwarts playing Quidditch. You're not going to win if you're minus 30 in a category like that. Now, look, there were some things that were some bright spots for Carolina. Derek Dixon showed up again in a big stage, and Carolina did well to hold Duke off down the stretch of the first half where they've blitzed people. So we'll talk about some of that. We'll look at a few other things as well, and we'll keep going here coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about FanDuel. College basketball is nonstop. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night. From the early tip-offs to the late-night West Coast shootouts, there's always action on the board. And now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want. Rivalry games like this one, ranked matchups, whatever fits the read that you have on the games. You can mix up spreads, totals, player props, whatever it is, and then you apply that profit boost and instantly bump up your potential payout. Again, I said it. The line started for this game at 15.5, or that's what it was when I first saw it anyway. Carolina covered that, and then the line only grew from there because of the Caleb Wilson noise. So if you took Carolina to cover, you were sweating, but you got paid. If you want to get in on that action, maybe look ahead at Carolina's ACC tournament games coming up. First one on Thursday. Do it. Go safe, go bold, whatever you want to do. Ride with the team you've been following all season. Your parlay, your style, now with more upside behind it. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel.com. Play your game. This episode is also brought to you by TurboTax. Y'all, it's tax time, but for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes is, well, quite frankly, a lot. Trying to book an appointment, for example, that's not the most convenient thing. You're sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, hoping you got everything you need, emailing back and forth with your tax guy being like, do they understand my tax situation? But this year, you're getting a major upgrade because Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert and get your documents uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done because your TurboTax expert is going to work to get you every dollar you deserve while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's that relief of walking in, meeting a real person, and then walking out knowing that your taxes are being handled the right way. So head to TurboTax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment today. TurboTax.com. Check it out now. All right, as we get back in, for those of you watching in real time, we got the box score pulled up. No worries. If you're listening back later, you can go find the box score up on my Twitter feed or something of that nature. Okay, look, it's not all sad and whatever. I mean, obviously, very disappointing, but we still need to find things to celebrate and honor because you got to move forward, right? Like the season is not done. The most important part of the season is now. So one of the things I thought was overly critical in this game is coming in. One of the things I was specifically watching for is the fact that Duke has been absolutely blitzing teams in the minutes leading up to halftime. And it appeared that they were starting to do so. They were just pushing out the lead. It was as big as 12 in the first half with 7 minutes to go. It was back up to 11 at 3:38. And that's where I want to point out. It was 11. They were up 35-24. From that moment, Duke only scored 4 more points while Carolina got 10. So Carolina closes the final 3.5 on a 10-4 run, like to flip the script of what Duke's typically been doing. And that, like, obviously Carolina didn't win the game, but they gave themselves a chance and put themselves in position to do so by getting it to that spot. And then Carolina started the second half on a 6-2 run to cut it to 1. So what I say, 10-4. So that's 16-5 run from Carolina to cut it to 1. Great stuff. And that's exactly what you want to do. but then they missed all of that, right? And so you've got to stay locked into it, as we were saying earlier. But all that said, Carolina can build on that. A good end of the first half, you got to keep fighting. That's what you got to do, especially without Caleb Wilson. Another thing I want to point out that I thought was a positive from this game was Derek Dixon. Let's remember, gosh, I can't remember how far ago it was now, but Derek Dixon, his shot was broke for a while there. And every time he shot, you were like, oh no, Derek, it's so bad right now. But you got to remind yourself, every one of us, myself included, of the freshman wall. It is a very real thing. He clearly hit it. You could tell he doubted himself some. He wasn't playing at the level he had at other moments. But I tell you what, that young man has stuck it out, and he's rebounded. He made critical shots in multiple games. Both times Carolina's played Duke, late in the Kentucky game, the passes against Duke, the pass to Seth to win the game in the first time against Duke, the three the other night. What game was that? The Clemson game, I think it was. And so in this game, Derek Dixon finishes with a team, led Carolina with 17 points, 5 of 9 from the field. All of those were threes. He was 5 of 8 from three, by the way, 2 of 2 at the free throw line, 3 assists, no turnovers, and a steal in 32 minutes. That's what Carolina needs from this freshman guard leading into the postseason. An uncharted territory for him, as tonight was. Like, keep the context in mind. If I said to you before this season began, when Carolina goes to Cameron Indoor Stadium on the last night of the regular season, Derek Dixon is going to lead the Tar Heels in scoring, you would have laughed at me, and I would have laughed right back with you because I wouldn't have believed it. Because also, we wouldn't have known that Caleb was out. But even if we knew that Caleb was out, we would have guessed it was Henry or Seth or somebody else. And so maybe that's an indictment that it wasn't one of those guys. They both got to double digits, but, so I'm encouraged by that Derek was able to do that in this game and to keep showing up. That gives me hope for what he's going to do in the postseason. He keeps having this clutch gene, and I'm just really proud of him. A couple other spots, like Seth and Henry both, they kind of need to be the leading scorers. They both shot over 50% in this game. Seth was 5 of 11. Henry was 5 of 7. And I thought the issue was that they needed some more shots. Seth started out really hot in this game. He was attacking, and then suddenly it was just like, nope, we're going to lock down on Seth. We're not going to let him beat us anymore. And that's all right. It's going to happen. But catch this. Derek Dixon had 3 assists. Seth had 6 assists in this game, 2 turnovers and a block. What I loved that Seth was doing was he was still able to get into the lane, but Duke was unwilling to let him finish. They would just come and help down. And so Seth was like, cool, I'm a kick out. And multiple dudes hit shots off those kickouts. It was really, really good awareness, situational awareness from Seth to be able to do that. And so I was proud of him. Another person I want to point out is Jaren Stevenson, who just continues to play at a high, his aggressiveness, attacked Cam Boozer multiple times, scored over him in the paint one time at least. And once again, poor guy, 1 rebound away from his first career double-double, 10 points, 9 rebounds, 4 of 9 from the field, 9 boards, had 2 blocks in this game for Jaren. And so it's like, just keep going. And there was, you wondered, how was Luka going to follow up his 20-point game? That was one where he just, shot 2 of 4 from 3, 50%, but that was the only 2 buckets he made. Really struck Bogey. I thought his lack of athleticism was a big hindrance for the Tar Heels in this game. It's just to be fair and astute with that, right? Because his game is not built on athleticism, similar to another Luka that we all know, right? They are built on being crafty, getting other people the ball, doing other things like that. Duke blitzed Bogey multiple times, and he just would lose it, or he would be driving and get stripped. 4 turnovers for Luka out of Carolina's 14. Nobody else had more than 2 in this game. And so, that's going to happen sometimes, but there it is. Right. And so you look at that and you're like, all right, got to figure some things out from there. Now, as for Cam Boozer, one of the things I was wondering is how Carolina would guard him. I had talked about it, I think on yesterday's show, maybe it was Thursdays, of Carolina might bring double teams or they might play him straight up. And part of that, when I talked about it, was the potential that Caleb might be back. Obviously, Caleb was not, and so that's a different thing. But I said, even if Caleb's not back yet for this game and Jaren Stevenson's guarding him, I would rather Carolina guard him one-on-one rather instead of bringing a double because he's such a good passer. And so my thought on it was I would rather allow him to get his and shut down everyone else, knowing that, yes, he's going to score over Jaren or Zayden or whoever's guarding him sometimes, but other times Carolina might win those battles. Whereas if you bring the double, he's going to find that open dude with a skip pass cut to the lane. And whether it's that dude scoring or another pass that gets a bucket for, like, he had a great skip pass across the lane. And I forget who that went to, but then one more pass up to Isaiah Evans for a massive, wide open three. Of course, it was his only 3 points of the first half, but it's like that kind of thing. So finally, Carolina went away from that some. They would bring it back occasionally. I'm obviously not a coach, but it's my job to talk about, like, hey, what would I have done maybe differently and second guess a little bit. For me, I would have maybe mixed it up even, right? Like bring some doubles sometimes play single coverage, just keep him guessing. Keep him, don't allow him to settle into a rut of, oh, I know they're bringing a double every time, so I'm going to be ready to make that pass right now. Where's the double coming from? Boom, let me hit my open teammate. Or if he knows it's single coverage every time, got the ball, gone. Right? Or take my time, make a couple moves. He's great with his pivot feet. Unreal stuff. And I didn't think Carolina did enough of that to put him off his game. And so very well done by Cam Boozer. All right, just a couple more things, and then we'll take one more break and get to our comments. ESPN reported more about Caleb on Saturday, and it was just so disappointing. The quote was, quote, ESPN reported this morning that Caleb Wilson was cleared by, this was from Noah Weiskopf. I wanted to credit that. ESPN reported this morning that Caleb Wilson was cleared by UNC for 5-on-5 drills on Thursday. So Thursday, Caleb was practicing 5-on-5, meaning he would have probably played today at Duke. He hit the tip of his thumb on the rim, felt sore Friday morning, and x-rays revealed the season-ending injury. So it's not that he dunked his thumb and it like got caught in the net and twisted weird, something, just the tip of his thumb. I would rather, is like, whatever. It's just so demoralizing when you hear that, right? It's just like, no, come on. Anyway, Carolina's going to get no sympathy from Duke, obviously, because they struggled with injuries in this game. Patrick Gungba was a game-time decision. He was a no-go. In fact, came out from the halftime locker room with a boot back on his foot. And then Caleb Foster did something to his. It was in a play in the second half where Seth Trimble got blocked by, I think, Isaiah Evans. And as Seth had drove, it looked like they had bumped or he tweaked it or something, but I also couldn't tell if it was that or when Seth got blocked, Foster had like retreated a little bit and had a sudden quick change movement, and it looked like that was the moment. And I don't want to speculate, and so I'm not going to say the injury, but you know how those quick change things often happen with your foot, right? So he didn't immediately come out from this halftime locker room. He did eventually come out in a boot. You saw Coach Shire go over, kind of put his head to his head and have some words. Other teammates do that. Look, I know it's Duke and we want to beat them, but I don't care who it is. If it's Duke or NC State or anybody, I never want to see injuries, man. That is so unfortunate and disappointing. You're right. Like, we can be humans with that kind of stuff. And so I hope for the best for Caleb Foster, but I fear for the worst for him. And so hopefully he'll be able to get back. Hopefully the same for Gungba, because we know what it feels like to have Caleb Wilson out, right? And so thinking good thoughts for those dudes. Up next for Carolina. After this butt whooping, you got to go home and you got to regroup. You got to figure out what to learn from this game. All right. We just got handled by a Duke team that we had got within 1 point of early second half. What do we got to fix so that we don't just get that and then surrender a 30-6 run? How do we get that and then get over the hump? How do we value each possession more capably? How do we stay locked into our offensive sets and do the things we need to do? And as a reminder, I always remind myself of these kind of things this time of year. Carolina now only has 2 guaranteed games remaining this season. Now, they could have 9 remaining games if they go to the ACC final and to the national championship, but they could have as few as 2 if they lose the ACC tournament quarterfinal on Thursday, and then if they lose in the first round of the NCAA tournament. So I say that to say value every moment. Cherish every moment that you got left. ACC tournament will be on Thursday. As a reminder, Carolina playing at 9:30. We now know it'll be one of three teams. Clemson beat Georgia Tech on Saturday, so they clinched the 5. So that's the most likely opponent, is playing Clemson twice within a 3-game span. They will play the winner of 12-seed Virginia Tech and 13-seed Wake. So it'll either be Clemson, Virginia Tech, or Wake Forest. So we'll see what happens there. All right, want to get to your comments, questions, see what you guys thought about this game and everything that transpired. We'll do that coming up here in just a second. Right after I tell you about Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inboxes overflowing, and the one position that you still need to fill is sitting there open, and you can't do anything about it because when the pressure's on, you need the right hire and you don't have time to do it. You need to get with Indeed Sponsored Jobs, who helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location, so that you're not just hoping the right candidate comes along and finds your post. Here's a stat that says it all. In the minute that I'm going to talk to you about this, companies just like yours are going to make hires on Indeed 27 times, according to Indeed's worldwide data. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching, more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes, less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, that's a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners to Locked on Tar Heels are going to get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on Locked on Tar Heels. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? That's a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. This episode is also brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Yeah, welcome into the 5 Hour Energy Flavor Draft. We're looking at every aspect of the draft to let you know which tasty flavors are the best and which ones might be sleepers that you need to check out as well. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and only one is going to take home that top spot. 5 Hour Energy shots give you a boost with zero sugar. My top pick, my number one overall, strawberry banana. I have loved that flavor combination my whole 42 years of life. I get it in smoothies and milkshakes and yogurt and all that stuff. And so the fact that 5 Hour Energy has it, oh, baby, sign me up. But my sleeper pick, let me tell you about that too. I'm a Georgia boy. I love peach anything, and I love mango. I've come to really like mango in my adult life. We go down to the Caribbean or something, I'm like, give me some fresh mango juice right now. So you combine my peach and my mango, come on, baby. That's incredible stuff. I want to know from you. Find your new favorite flavor of 5 Hour Energy as well. Available online at 5hourenergy.com or at Amazon. 5 Hour Energy. Check it out now. All right, a little bit of some water, and we get going with our comments. Oh, this is interesting. This is going back. I think this is from Justice Wells. I think he sent this at maybe halftime or something, and it's interesting, the look ahead, because I completely agree with you, Justice, who says, for the second half, defense is going to be key. Also, need to get Henry some more paint touches. Also, Jaren is playing great. A couple things there. We've already talked about Jaren, so we'll look past that. But the defense was going to be key. Yes, absolutely it was. Let's look at what Duke ended up doing in the second half. Man, it was not as good as I thought it was going to be. 14 of 34, 41%. 3 of 8 at the free throw line. Duke, what are you doing? That's crazy. The first half, they must have shot. No, man. Okay, this is why Carolina's defensive efficiency went up after the game at KenPom. Duke only shot 42% for the game, 31% from 3, 53% at the free throw. What, you shooting free throws like Carolina over? Oh my goodness. Sorry, I'm just seeing all that. I hadn't put this. Carolina only took 4 free throws. What? That's got to be a season low. Holy smokes. Are you kidding me right now? Carolina's season low was 10 at Miami. 4 free throw attempts for the Tar Heels. Duke, I don't want to hear you complaining anymore about what happened to Carolina, right? Like, we're all in this boat together now. I just, there you go. What that tells me, though, is to Justice's point here, that Carolina needed to get Henry more paint touches. Absolutely. Especially because they were without Patrick Gungba. You got to hone in on making that happen. How many shots did Henry get? Oh my goodness. Oh, you guys. You ready for this? Henry Vesar. Take a wild guess. How many field goal attempts he had in the second half of this game? You are going to lose your freaking mind. One field goal attempt for Henry Vassar in the second half. He was 4 of 6 in the first half, wildly efficient. And in the second half, 1 of 1. You have got to be kidding me. This is like earlier in the season when it was like, why isn't Caleb getting shots down the stretch, right? That's Henry tonight in this game. Carolina, again, it goes back to what I was saying about the hero ball and just settling and not doing so. I want to find out when this field goal attempt was. Henry Vassar. 1:16 left in the game. So, like, Carolina's final bucket was a Henry Vassar jumper. So that means, it was 1:16. That means for the first 18:44 of the second half, Henry Vassar did not take a shot. That is lunacy. How do you miss that? I mean, how do I miss that didn't happen? But if you're the Tar Heels, you've got the tallest dude on the floor. You got to get that ball to him. Oh, my word. More paint touches indeed, Justice Well, which is funny. That was at halftime when he had been 4 of 6 from the field. Yikes. Bad stuff. Okay. Yes, Derek Tyson, our guy. You simply are not going to have a chance on the road against an elite team turning the ball over. We've already talked about that, but it's this point that I want to get to. Also, with little bench production. Carolina, whose bench had been scoring tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of points, had 7 points in this game. It was 5 from Zayden High, one of which was that late banked in 3 that was like, all right, whatever. The other one, though, it was a nice bucket over Cam Boozer. I was like, Zay, okay. So there was that. And, man, Zayden, see, here's what I love Zayden's doing. The reason he's playing so much better, 2 fouls, which he could have gotten in a ton of foul trouble when he was getting switched on to Boozer and other things like that, and just 1 turnover. You know, you hear Carolina committed 14 turnovers, you're like, man, I bet Zayden had 3 or 4 of them. No, 1. 1 turnover for Zayden High in 14 minutes. We'll take that. So he had 5 points. Jaden Young had 2. And again, that was one of Seth's 6 assists. Carolina got a run out. Seth found a cutting Jaden Young. Those 7 points, that was it from the bench. Nothing from Kyan Evans, who played 8 minutes. Nothing from Jonathan Powell. And that's that. All the rest of the 61 points came from the starters. Man, that's just not going to do it. It will not do it, quite frankly. Man. Joseph Alexander says, I'm curious to process this out loud with you all in real time here. Going forward, I would make a change. I have waffled back and forth about Luka, but I would start Powell in that wing position and High off the bench for bigs, Young off the bench for wings, and then Luka backs up Dixon. I want, because my gut reaction is to disagree and say you got to stick with Luka, because I think the issue in this game for Luka was what I talked about earlier, that he wasn't athletic enough for this game and tried to do too much. I think it was an issue of Luka needing to understand where he can succeed against Duke, particularly with no Caleb Wilson, right? With Caleb's athleticism in the first matchup against Duke, it took some of that pressure off of Luka's lack of athleticism because he's able to do it, Seth is able to do it, etc. Now, I'm not closed to the idea of Jonathan Powell starting. I like his defense. I like his aggressiveness. But a questionable shot or two, I mean, as Luka did. So there's a lot of that. So, man, I hear it, and I'll definitely consider it, Joseph. I want to think about it more. But my gut reaction is to push back on it. But I like you thinking in that way. We got something from a Duke fan. The cleanup man says, Duke fan here. But I've watched a lot of Carolina basketball. Why wouldn't Hubert make Henry the offensive focus? He is clearly talented enough. Powell should be the starter over Luka. So agreeing with Joseph Alexander there. You're with us, man. You're talking about it. Because not only should it be Henry in terms of getting him the ball in position to score, but he is such an effective passer and is going to draw such gravity that without Caleb, you really have to play through him to both score and facilitate. So get him into the lane and let him make decisions. And as we talked about on today's show, on Friday's show, stretch him out, let him knock down some threes, draw out Brown, or when Gungbug gets back, get him out there, right? Like some of that as well. And so I like it. With Derek Pereira, like this is exactly what I'm talking about. It says they should run plays for Luka off ball for catch and shoot. He's not a confident ball handler. Like that's where Luka could have been successful in this game, is some of that stuff. And so there's that. Man, I'm really grateful for this from Morgan Elizabeth. She's getting on my Isaac Schade glass half full, which I have not been great at glass half full tonight, although I'm sure a lot of you like that because most of you hate my glass half fullness. That's okay, but I really appreciate this. Morgan says, we need to remember while reflecting on this game, the comeback is always, in all caps, greater than the setback. And remember, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll obviously get to that hashtag at the end of the game. But yeah, and I think Morgan's comment here sets us up for what gets going later in the week, right? Is while this is difficult tonight, it's a 15-point loss. To frankly, even with Duke's, like, here's my thing for Duke. I'm all the way back to the preseason, excuse me. I think Caden Boozer should be their point guard over Caleb. And so there's something with that. But yes, so again, regroup, get back to it. Get ready for Thursday and let's go. So you guys, that's it for tonight. Obviously disappointing loss, but man, proud of the effort. Just it got away from him in the second half, and that's going to be that. Got to regroup, get ready for Thursday. You got time to rest and do it up, and we'll be back together. So obviously we will be back on Monday. Also disappointing today, the ladies lost in the semifinal of the ACC tournament to Louisville, so they'll wait for selection Sunday as well. Baseball team got blitzed again by Virginia 2 days in a row. Gross. Don't like that. You guys, if you haven't subscribed to the show, video and audio, do it right now. If you haven't already subscribed to the Locked On Tar Heels Discord or to the Everydayers Club, we'd love for you to do that. Those links are both in the show notes. And if you're not already subscribed and downloading all the shows on audio, would you please consider doing that? Because that helps us a lot too. You guys, even on a day like this, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again Monday, but until then, peace.